Spiritual scams, magical scams, psychic scams are a time-honored tradition. The movie Nightmare Alley that just came out, that is a remake of an old version of it, reminds us of this. And because I just did the video on how anybody can tap into their ability to have extrasensory perceptions, I wanted to remind people that just because anybody can doesn't mean anybody who says they can, that they do, are actually doing so. First of all, welcome back to another video. I'm Ann Blackwood, your Silicon Valley Sage Sister, here to bring consciousness to the forefront of your daily life to make life a little kinder and simpler. So, spiritual scams are a dime a dozen, and this comes down to psychic scammers. A really great movie about how psychic scams work is the new Nightmare Alley movie. Although it is intense, it is technically a suspense horror movie. Just a warning for everybody. But that said, it's hard for me to go a day without having someone in my social media messages reaching out to me saying that there's some sort of priest of Ifa or Santerian Babalawa or whatever, people reaching out saying they have a psychic message for me. Psychic scammers are a dime a dozen, and there are ones that are intentional scammers, and then there are the people who actually believe that they have these abilities, who don't realize that what they're doing isn't extrasensory. That's why I did the video on empaths and how empaths aren't actually, most of them anyway, picking up on anything extrasensory. Same goes for most psychics. Most psychics aren't actually picking up on anything extrasensory. They're doing what we call cold reading, or they're just really good like empaths at recognizing human behavior. They understand humans for whatever reason, for whatever trauma that they had to pick up on these things, unlike most people. This even goes for things like tools, like candles, like oils, like there are all sorts of different types of spiritual scams out there. And so I really wanted to punctuate the last video I did on anybody being able to tap into their extrasensory abilities with a warning about spiritual scams. I have whole videos in Spirituality 101 and 2.0 on my Patreon about how the tools don't matter at the end of the day. Candles aren't going to matter. Any spells you buy from somebody, any spell kits you buy from somebody, any manifesting kits you buy from somebody aren't going to matter if you don't have it in you to make it happen. And what I mean by that is that you can really, really, really want it, but not believe it's possible. You can think you really, really want it, but don't actually want it for some reason. And either one of these things is going to make it so even if you buy the best energized candle in the world from the best actually practiced practitioner, it's not going to work for you because you don't believe it's actually possible for whatever reason. Really great magical items, magically infused items, energized items can help you strengthen what you're doing, sure. But you have to have it in you to begin with, which is why I teach all of the things that I teach, because I want people to be able to have the tools, skills, habits to actually step out of the ordinary levels of consciousness and into the spiritual ones themselves, to be able to walk through life confident, knowing that if they want help, they'll know who to get it from. And if they don't want help, they don't have to get it at all. So, also, I have a whole video on Patreon that I made, I want to say almost 2 years ago now, on your trusted circle, on how to know who to have in your trusted circle. And that includes family, friends, people you consider soul family, therapists, counselors, coaches, spiritual teachers, you want to vet them all with care in your life. You want to really evaluate who in your life is actually helping you and has your best interest in mind when they offer you things like advice, not just their own interest in mind. And this is what spiritual scams come down to, because the people who intentionally spiritually scam are preying on people's emotions and human fallibilities. And those who are unintentionally scamming people really do believe that they're tapping into something extrasensory when they're not. Again, this is why I have series and videos, and why my one-on-one private practice is dedicated to teaching people how to do these things for themselves, so that they can recognize, anyone can recognize when they're being scammed, and anyone can do the work to build it inside of themselves so they have a solid 3D foundation on which the spiritual foundation sits. Again, like essential oils, for instance. When I talk about dōTERRA and their products, you hear me talk about natural living products, not the magical powers of essential oils. And that's because there is scientific backing to what essential oils do for us. And that's not to say that they don't have great spiritual properties, but natural living is just as important to our spiritual health, because our body and our mind are just as important to our spiritual health. They're all important to each other. So when I talk about dōTERRA and the essential oils that make their products so amazing, it's because they have 3D reality properties to them that we understand work certain ways that are beneficial to us. This is why my whole point and purpose, my mission, is to help people, like I said, build the tools, skills, and habits to be able to do all of these things on their own, rather than get stuck on that hamster wheel of hurting and healing and needing somebody else's advice, whether that be a psychic or a friend or a therapist. And that's not to say that we shouldn't get help from people. We absolutely should get help from people when we need it, when we want it. But we can walk through life confident, knowing that we will come out on the other side of anything unscathed and actually better for it, or relatively unscathed and better for it, no matter what happens. So, yeah, that's why I want to warn you about spiritual scammers, because there are so many of them out there, and because you can do it for yourself. And you have to do it for yourself, especially when it comes to manifesting. Spirituality in general, that takes work that no one else can do for you, that no one else can add to for you. Really, that's why I say healers don't heal. They facilitate self-healing. They support self-healing, because we all have it in us. And there are a lot of things that no matter what we get from the outside, if we don't have it in us, it's not going to matter what the outside does. So I'll leave it at that. If you'd like to check out my videos on Patreon that go deeper into how the spiritual tools, like candles and things like that, don't matter if you don't have it in you, my Spirituality 101 series has the video called Energy, Tools, and Affirmations, and then I go more into that in my Spirituality 2.0 intro. If you'd like to work with me one-on-one so that you can build the skills and habits to actually step out of the ordinary levels of consciousness and into the spiritual levels of consciousness, I would love to have you, and I have 2 spots left. You can reserve your spot through the link in the description, and you can always email me or drop a comment in the comments here if you have any questions. I have other links in the description, like dōTERRA, which is your one-stop shop for all your natural living needs, made from the best essential oils, purest essential oils. And that matters because essential oils are amazing healing tools from the earth, from plants. They're plant medicine. And that's why doTERRA can make so many different things to get all of those synthetic chemicals out of your life and replace them with the best natural products, because of the way they source their essential oils and other things that they use to make their products, as well as bringing to you the essential oils that they use in them. It's amazing. I am so excited to be partnered with doTERRA when it comes to offering people natural living solutions. Other links in the description. Go check them out if you're enjoying my videos here. I know you'll enjoy my videos on Patreon, and all the other links in the description. And as always, may the energies you serve you well, and let's keep making our way through.